I'm really sorry about that, but it was kind of a spur of the moment thing. So I wanted to go through some stuff of what I normally shoot. I'm, again, Parker, and I shoot a little bit of everything. This is one of my landscape images from Zion. This is a power plant at 4 minute exposure during a windless day. I waited forever for the wind to be so still that the smoke out of the stacks would come straight up. A lot of this is from a road trip I do every year across the United States, and these images kind of come from that. This is mostly film work that you're seeing. This is large format. I shoot a lot of 8x10, 4x5 stuff, 8x10. These are paper negatives. Paper negatives on the 8x10 with the ring flash and all kinds of crazy lighting. 8x10 again, 8x10. So this is what I shoot in the studio. This is what I make in the darkroom. Digitally, I try to get my lighting down, and this was for a hair competition where you weren't allowed to do any Photoshop to the image with exception of removing blemishes on her skin. And you had to prove it by sending in the raw file, and this is the raw file. So yeah, kind of fun. No Photoshop here either. These are hundreds and hundreds of twinkle LED lights throwing in with a wind machine, 2 fishing poles, a ladder, smoke machine, strobe lights everywhere, and really good timing. I think we made like 10 frames, and this was it. So again, I shoot weddings as well. I know this is about mirrorless. I just want to show you what I do, and this can't possibly be done with a mirrorless camera. Was my initial reaction years ago, but I always had the mirrorless camera to get shots like this of my kid growing up, where he's about ready to beat somebody's butt because he obviously has a better treat than him, or he's sitting patiently waiting on that treat. Playing in the yard, playing in the leaves, snotty nose day, walking down the road. Like, this is where the mirrorless fit for me. It wasn't a professional camera for me yet, but the more I shot it, the more I saw the world differently, the more I reacted differently. And since then, technology has just grown and grown and grown and grown. And now I find myself using mirrorless for my main cameras. Like this image it's like an old 1940s lens that's basically strapped onto the front of the camera because there's no mirror box in the way, because the focal distance between the flange and the sensor are so close. I can literally put anything on the front of it, where if I used a DSLR with this, it would be halfway into the mirror, and there's no way I would be able to see the image to shoot it. Or I could use a live view, strap the mirror up, and pray to God that the mirror doesn't come down on the back of the lens element. That would be bad. So this is like my old Nikkor 55 1.2 on the front of a mirrorless camera. This particular camera was the NEX7. Like all this stuff, that's the NEX. This is the first mirrorless camera that really knocked it out of the park for me. I'd had a couple of smaller ones before. The NEX7, the file quality blew my mind. And granted, this was like early 2012, and I just couldn't believe what I was getting out of this small little camera. But surely it's only good at black and white. And then I started looking at the color that was coming out of this camera and was really falling in love. One of the other things I was really falling in love with was the fact that I can literally have this around my neck. There's no weight to it at all, and just grab stuff. Like this shot of us, me and my wife and Scout, walking down the road, and you can see the big 70 to 200 monster on my side that I'm shooting as well. But yet none of those shots ended up in anything except this one. So I started kind of listening to it and started using it for different things. Like when I started going out and trying to make a large portfolio of more fashion-forward fine art images, this was my camera, because I could really express myself in a different way just because I could use these different lenses. And not even mount them on. You know, the whole free lensing thing, which is new, by the way. I'm kidding. It's really not. I'm being sarcastic. That was mean. I'm sorry. Sorry. So I'm gonna move on, and like you know, these are all the NEX7, and it was just a lovely camera. But it was always like on my side along with either the Nikon gear I was shooting or my film cameras. And the one place I really found it fitting in was with my film camera work. It like kind of had the same feel. It had the same vibe. It wasn't as digital looking. There was something about these Sony files, something about the NEX, or it was the lenses. And at the time, I couldn't really put my finger on it. But I was loving the stuff I was getting from the old Petzval style lenses that were around, you know, the old 16 millimeter lenses for film work, and creating these lovely images that had just such depth and feel to them. And then it started like moving in, like it just kept progressing. There was a love coming on that I felt when I used these cameras. And you just see, you know, when you look through the viewfinder, you see what you get. Like, what you see is what you get. There's no more like looking at the back of the camera to make sure you nailed the exposure. No matter how long you've been doing it, you know, you don't have to do that anymore. You just look through the viewfinder, and what you see is what you get. I love shooting black and white. So you see the world in black and white when you look through that viewfinder. DSLR, you don't. You see the world as it is. I want to see the world as how I want it to be. Isn't that what an artist is being about? These beautiful, soft, and these are just like straight out of the camera. There's really nothing done. And they're just such beautiful, real, and there's an honesty about them that, you know, the only way I can get that honest kind of feel is through film. And this camera kind of does it for me. And then I started packing along with weddings and found myself shooting more and more imagery at weddings with these cameras. And it was kind of funny, you know, showing up at a rather large wedding event with a point and shoot. I'm doing the quote bunny ears here. A point and shoot camera or two around me. And it was kind of a fun thing to watch their face. Like, you're seriously going to shoot me with this? Again, all NEX7. I have not like jumped up yet. I kind of held on to that sucker forever. And taking along to these weddings and just little moments, you know, I've got a couple Nikons on each side, and this little camera was around my neck, and I had the little hold fast camera strap. So I'd have a Nikon on each side, and then right in the middle, you know, there's no weight to it, was this little Sony in the middle, and I was just pull it up and just snap a couple shots, and usually using all manual focus lenses. That was just kind of the MO for that thing. That's what I wanted to do. And it just gave these beautiful images that were just perfectly flawed, and they just had mood, had emotion to them. It wasn't just straightforward, you know, what it was. I don't want to make images the way everyone saw them. I want to make images the way I see them. And what a better way than to look through the back of a mirrorless camera, and what you see is what you get. So it's an easy translation for me to the clients and to myself. This, again, the color out of these cameras were just surreal. And then, the RX. No, sorry, the A7. Sorry, I'm dreaming about an RX. The A7R2 came out, and I instantly had to rent it, which I did. I fell in love with it, started shooting everything with it, and now that is my Huckleberry. I'm shooting literally everything with this camera. Soon to be just shooting that alone with film, and that's my digital system. This is one of my old Nikkor 55 1.2 on a tilt adapter. What you're seeing is a JPEG out of camera. Oh yeah, there's some other stuff. I forgot I need to turn down the volume. How do I do that? This is maybe another reason that mirrorless, I can switch between stills to video so quickly. I'm looking through the viewfinder, I can see what I'm getting. This is, I'm shooting at 6400 ISO for this frame, and it's just like a little video clip that I can put with all these other images. And it just gives a look and a feel that I can't get with the DSLR. The Zeiss lenses, this is just kind of a definition of a Zeiss lens. They are stunning. This is the 55 1.8 Zeiss, and wide open at 1.8. It is an absolute stunner. Just gorgeous quality. Like, you can literally see my face in her eye if I were to bump it in, which I can't in this program, but trust me, it's there. Again, we're looking at JPEGs here. These are bumped up JPEGs out of camera. I shoot RAW as well, don't get me wrong. This was just kind of a test for me that you'll see in just a second why I was testing it. So again, going from video to stills very quickly. This is 12,800 ISO. I lit it all with my little iPhone. It's on a tripod. I'm literally walking around her with the iPhone. All those sparkles, that's a necklace hanging over the lens hood of the 55 1.8. So that small, tiny little light source of the iPhone light on the back of the camera, not the screen, is that small light source is hitting all those facets and just making that light around. Let me see if I can go back. Yeah. So that's basically the same thing. This is just hanging in the front, and this is a movable light around with that little little iPhone light. And you can see I kind of changed. You can see her hair coming in. I'm just literally, it's on a tripod, and I'm walking around her with the light. That's it. Nothing much, just simple. I use projection stuff. This is projection, which I love this still, but I was like, man, if I could just, instead of freezing this time, this whole thing, what if she were to do that? And what if I directed the eye last? It's just a different voice that we have. JPEG, playing around with the white balance in the camera and the lights that I'm using. Little portrait shoot of a brother and sister. Just love this image. I wanted to test, like F8, F11, what this little Zeiss can do. And its quality is outstanding. Outstanding. Like, I can't even, getting into this file and looking at not only the sharpness, it's not about how sharp it is. It's incredibly sharp, but it's about how soft it is where it's supposed to be soft. It's that transition. It's the shoulder of the image. And these lenses just have it. The stuff I was using before was just, it was extremely sharp. The nano-coated Nikon glass is way razor sharp. It just lacked mood. And you can bring that mood back with post. You can. But I didn't want to do that. That's not my thing, I guess. This is playing around. I did a little video on Periscope about building this set with the light behind her and all the lights in the front and the smoke and like and created the flower wreath behind her with the whole thing. This again shot on the A7R II. Only this is a Midicon 50mm 0.95, so f.95, and that is wide open. So I'm shooting at a little bit of a downward angle, so I got her lips and eyes in it. Otherwise, they'd be gone. And it's that soft shoulder again. To look at this, it doesn't read a 50 mil. It doesn't read 0.95. There's something to it. To know that those flowers are 6 inches behind her. It's that kind of shoulder that, you could tell me that was shot with an 85 and she was 2 feet in front or 1 foot in front or whatever. But to know that that's a 50 and she's just inches from those flowers and they're gone, that's what I'm talking about. Same thing here. That's the 50 mil 0.95 wide open. And that's like, a half-length shot. Half-length shot. Her face is sharp. Shoulders are gone. But it's that nice little shoulder. And she's razor sharp where it needs to be sharp. The camera acts like medium format. There, with this lens on it has this feel that I hadn't been able to get before. This is a shoot I did just last week. I just released these images this morning to my client, who commissioned me to make her portfolio bigger. So that's what I try to do. So we did this shoot and shot all this wild stuff, and we went from something really gritty to like more of a high fashion kind of lighting feel, perfection. So I'm switching between lenses here. This is the Zeiss glass, absolutely pristine sharp, a different kind of lighting that I'm doing here with a big 7-foot octa and a couple strips back behind. So it's just kind of a different feel and look. Another kind of different look. This is at 25,000 ISO in a studio that literally I couldn't see to focus her. And this is shot wide open at 0.95 and just nailed focus. That's the other thing with the mirrorless system. I can manually focus in the dark. Absolutely can't do that with a DSLR. Like, you can't see to focus, let alone autofocus. But with this, it does both, autofocus and manual focus in complete darkness. There's the 0.95 again. I love the separation, the feel. The way these Sonys handle highlights is like no other camera I've ever used. It retains everything. All the snow in the background is there. There's nothing blown out, down to the deepest shadows. Again, switching it over, doing a little video in between, stopping it. You know, I'm doing a little slow motion stuff here, so 120 frames. And you can see like the highlights, when it comes into focus here, everything's there, even in the video, which is just so fantastic. And this isn't even shooting like S-Log or anything like that. This is just one of the picture profile 6 that I tweaked out a little bit. And it's just beautifully, beautifully done. Again, this thing, it's kind of my Huckleberry. Loving it. Zipping through. So this is like a little tilt adapter that I've got an old 35 f2 lens put on the front of it. So it tilts and gives me this kind of look. Again, the 0.95 on there. Beautiful. And here we go again. This is just that slow. What story can I tell with this? What story can you tell with this? That's what it's all about. And it's so quick. I go from that shot to this in a push of a button, like instantaneously. There's no switching back and forth. I can be shooting this and just bam, shoot a still. Now granted, I had to change orientation. And then I started taking it to the weddings. And that's where it kind of got crazy. This is the A7R II. I had taken the NEX7s, but this was the first wedding I shot entirely with the Sony system and was absolutely floored with it. Could not believe that it was up to the task. And we're talking 42 plus megapixel here, but my idea that I had earlier was shooting in JPEG. And so this wedding I shot solely in JPEG. And you know, here's the thing. What you see is what you get, right? So if you're looking through that viewfinder and you're jacking up your exposures, well, you might want to go to an optometrist, because what you see is what you get. If you like what you're seeing, then go with it. And that's exactly what your JPEG's going to look like. So it's kind of a no-brainer for me. And I used to shoot JPEG all the time. I mean, back when digital was first around, that's all we had was JPEG. I mean, we didn't have RAW files. The day RAW files came out, it was like, wow. And then what were we going to do on our 128 megabyte chip? Yeah, that was crazy. Megabyte. Yeah. So this is the Sony. Most of this, the A7R II, by the way, most of this is shot on the 5518, and like that image there was one of my tilt adapters. 5518, all this, and it's just, you know, I didn't do anything too crazy, but just fell in love with it. Then it ended up going to other weddings, and then I started incorporating. Well, there's supposed to be a video that went in there. Oh well. This is like the first video I shot at a wedding. Like this shot, it turns into a video and back to a still. It's really cool. So the slideshow that I make for the couple, that's, and like these spontaneous moments, bam, you're there. It's crazy fast. I hear a lot of people, oh, it's not up to task. It's not fast enough. The focus isn't fast enough. It is. It's way fast enough. It's just a learning curve to get to use it. It reacts differently. You act like a different photographer with this. That's the one thing you become more thoughtful, which I think the world could use. I think photographers in general could be a little more thoughtful about their frames instead of just the what do they call it, spray and pray or whatever. It's like, come on, like be thoughtful, think about it, and nail it. And I think, this camera is up to the task for anything. This is a wedding I just put out 2 days ago. I had the clients come in, and I shot most everything from their wedding on the Sony as well. And most everything I shot with the Medicon 50 f.95 and the 85 1.2 Speedmaster. So catching these moments, it's all manual focus, all JPEG, all black and white wedding. And it was just fantastic. Switching between, catching these moments. I mean, we're talking 0.95 and nailing it and catching it. The manual focus is so easy on this camera. You have the focus peaking. You have the manual assist, like a push of a button, it'll zoom 100% to wherever your focus point is, which is fantastic. It's in a class all itself with that, and you can really, really work quickly and get with it. There was something I wanted to say, and I forgot what it was, but I'll just keep going on. I'll just keep going on with this wedding. These little moments, just bang, 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 nailing it all day long. Beautiful. And again, switching that transition between still and video to create something unique for them. And just look how it holds those shadow details in her face and the highlights behind. Just unreal. That's a tricky exposure. Super tricky exposure, but what you see is what you get. So I could see that rim light on her face and exactly where it needed to be, right? Because I've got this hugely bright house behind there on a porch that's covered. She's got these fine little feathers coming out. Look how it held those highlights in the feathers. It's really unreal. 85 1.2 on a hill. This is stopped down to like f4, so it's kind of, I guess, negates the fact that it's 1.2, but just showing how it reacts to light and the texture and the black and white JPEGs, capturing just quick moments of them walking down the hill, out into the bamboo forest, these lovely moments. And again, switching back and forth seamlessly all day long between stills and video, and creating something that's truly unique. Like that was made, this was made, and then the next frame was made, all just bam, bam, bam. So it's not like, wait, okay, I got to set up, I got to do this, I got to do that. And I'm looking through the viewfinder. I'm not looking at the back of the camera. So I am absolutely stable. I'm not like holding it at arm's length, looking at the back of a live view screen. This is through the viewfinder. I'm doing all this. That's what makes it so great. And any lens I put on it, I have 5-axis stabilization. So any of your VR or IS lenses, it's all built in the camera, not in the lens with this unit. It makes it special, right? So I'm running all day long, shooting this stuff. Wedding day, mom and dad come down the aisle, everything going on, and still rolling video in between to make something that's unique for them. They didn't even know. They didn't hire a videographer, right? They didn't even know I was doing this. I just snuck it in. And then when they came in, that's the first time they saw it. Were they jazzed? Yeah. They were super, super excited. The mirrorless is small. You're running around, you're quiet. This is during a workshop. What you see is what you get. This available light is like 12,800 ISO. This is a floodlight off the Biltmore estate, coming through some branches, hitting the model with a tree lit behind. This is lit with an iPhone screen that just had a blue screen on it. I wanted blue so I could separate the color in black and white. This was a color image shot in RAW that I converted over to black and white, and it's this smooth, surreal look with the 9.5. Another image from the workshop, 8512, just showing little patches of light that we can find. This is crazy. This image, so this guy, Gary Jules, amazing artist. If you've ever seen Donnie Darko, he did the soundtrack to Donnie Darko. So he hires me to shoot these pictures of him recording his new album here in Asheville at Echo Mountain. So I'm shooting all in the space where he's actually recording this. These new Sony cameras have not a quiet shutter, but zero audible shutter. There is no sound. Nothing is coming out of this thing, right? So I'm literally up in his grill shooting this stuff and shooting long, shooting wide, moving around. I'm making more noises breathing than I am taking this shot. So I'm able to do things that I couldn't have done before. And yes, I push raw images around too. This is like kind of an infrared thing that I do a lot in film, and now switching it over to doing some in digital. The detail, just the amazing depth to these images are there. Again, the tilt coming out for this shot, the fine black and white, the detail of these are just surreal. You can see every snowflake. It's just really, but there again, I'm always carrying it around with me. It's still that pocket camera. It's a little bit bigger now, but it's way more powerful. And I can do things with this. This is a still from a music video I shot. I shot my first music video last weekend, and this is a still from one of the frames. And this is like some of the 4K video that I've made a little smaller on here for you. But some of the 4K video that I'm shooting shooting the music video with. And it's just absolutely stunning. Some more stills from the video, and here again, it's still with me everywhere I go. So whether we're having a snowball fight in the backyard or lounging in an Adirondack chair in the snow, this is what we do.